It isn't in your program, but there's going to be a little bit of a pre-concert talk. I normally talk about the pieces as we go, but I can't talk about the first piece after the first piece. But before that, a land acknowledgement. Today, Chicago represents the third largest urban population of Native Americans with 65,000 tribal members. For members from over 175 different tribes, Chicago is home. We acknowledge that the lands that we occupy are the traditional homelands and territories of the Council of the Three Fires, composed of the Ojibwa, Ottawa, and Potawatomi nations, in addition to the Miami, Ho-Chunk, and the Menominee nations. We recognize the economic and cultural impact that these nations have made on our city. Now, it wouldn't come as any surprise to anybody if I read a land acknowledgement before we started. But today, I really felt like I had to because of the first piece. The land acknowledgement extends actually to North Park, specifically, in actually all of us, for the reason that we're all in this room together, kind of indirectly. And that is that in 1893, at the Chicago World's Fair, they had the first Eucharistic, not Eucharistic, but religious congress, where people from different religions all talked to each other. This never happened before, and it happened in Chicago. And part of that was the then 8-year-old Evangelical Covenant Church. And they had a college up in Minneapolis, started in 1891. But all these leaders from the Covenant Church came down here and they were part of it. This Parliament of Religions was held at what is now the Art Institute. And it was in conjunction with the World's Fair. And while they were here and doing all of this, they made contacts in Chicago. And at the time, pretty much Chicago had the largest Swedish population of any town outside of Sweden. And when they were all down here, they were talking to people, and along the way, without knowing the specifics, this land was offered, along with an endowment and money to help build Old Main, which is still right over there. And that's why the Chicago World's Fair is why North Park is in Chicago, in great part. The first piece is called The Belle of Chicago. Written by John Philip Sousa, it was written for the World's Fair. It is a quirky march. If you think of marches, you think of bands walking down the street, and most Sousa marches were made so they could walk down the street too. But by this point, he was done conducting the Marine Band, and he was doing his own band. And he really wanted it to become a concert kind of thing. So this march might be a little bit surprising in the way it sounds. Not in the way it begins, and not in the way it ends, but along the way. And again, it was written for the Chicago World's Fair, which is why we're all in this room together. You can tell that that march was not made to be played marching down the streets, because of all that soft stuff, the horses would have drowned them out. But in this case, in the concert hall, it works just fine. The next piece we're going to do is one of Claire Grumman's medleys of American folk songs. He's done a number of them, but this one is focused on sailing songs. The next piece, Overture for Winds by Elliot Del Borgio. He's written early in his career writing for bands. He ended up being a very, very preeminent composer along the way. We've played many other pieces by him before, but this is one we had not ever done. And when I went through the library and was looking at things, I'm like, "You've never done this piece? Really, Joe?" And decided it was time to kind of scratch that itch. So this is Elliot Del Borgio's Overture for Winds. 17 years ago, the composer Brian Balmages wrote a piece called Moscow, 1941. It became one of his most popular pieces. Some of the members of the band who actually have their own bands have played it. And it really celebrated the heroism of the Russians in the face of Nazi Germany invading. And Balmages used some Russian themes in there and really held them up as these heroic moments in this. Fast forward to 2022. Brian Balmages is not quite so enamored with what's going on. And as artists do, they make works of art to express what's going on. On Thursday night, my colleague Dr. Tom Zell and his orchestra did a concert in most every piece was kind of dedicated toward one of the human values that the orchestra really espouses. And I applaud all of that. The piece they used for nonviolence was actually the Ukrainian hymn, which is in this piece. But this is not a nonviolent piece. So you will hear the same Russian themes that were used by Balmages in the earlier piece here, not quite in a heroic manner. And you will hear the Ukrainian hymn come out of this. So I've spoken about the piece, but we have somebody who can speak much more eloquently about the reality.
Hi everyone, my name is Veronika Chapley. I was born and raised in Ukraine. I moved to the United States when I was 16. Recently, I graduated from North Park University with a degree in music education and had an honor to perform on this stage as well. When I learned that this piece is being performed today, I was pleasantly surprised because now more than ever, Ukraine needs all the support we can get. As many of you may know, my home country, Ukraine, was viciously attacked by Russia 1 year and 2 months ago. On February 24, 2022, I was having a calm family dinner here in the United States. It was 5 a.m. in Kyiv, Ukraine. Families over there were also enjoying their yet peaceful night, about to start a new day. Many of those families never started that new day. They'll never wake up. Other families had to reduce their belongings to 1 backpack per person and run. Parents tragically losing children, civilians getting tortured, and this is only the beginning of the horrors of the war. I feel blessed to have an opportunity to live and enjoy the freedoms here in the States. Since the full-scale war in Ukraine, my family and friends have been utilizing endless resources that many Americans so generously provided to support Ukraine. I am a musician and I use that to help. I play national Ukrainian instrument bandura, and I have been performing at concerts throughout Chicagoland to raise money for Ukraine. I have been in constant contact with my friends in Ukraine to help raise funds for protective equipment and medical supplies for those going to the front line to defend our country. Together with the Ukrainian community, we have been doing charity outreach to ask for donations and supports from local businesses and organizations. In today's reality, every Ukrainian, either at home or abroad, is fighting to get our country back. I am extremely grateful to my alma mater, North Park, because since day one of the war, everyone here has been supporting Ukraine in any ways they could. Today's piece is yet another show of support to my home country. It is not just a piece that supports the future and freedom of Ukraine and highlights the strength of Ukrainian people, it also shows hope that with help and support from all over the world, Ukraine will prevail. Me and the entire Ukrainian community in Chicago are eternally grateful to all the people who express any type of support to Ukraine. As I mentioned, Ukrainian community in Chicago has been working to help our brothers and sisters in Ukraine, and Americans have been eager to help. If there is one thing that I could ask you today, please spread the word when you leave this concert hall tonight. Please think about all of those who are still fighting for freedom. This fight is not just to free the Ukrainian soil. It is also a fight to stop the enemy that could pose a tremendous threat to the entire world. However, we know that with your support and with the support of the entire world, we will prevail. Slava Україні! Героям слава!
Even though she's not here, I'd like to have a round of applause for Veronica. Since I'm born and raised here and a musician here, I've known plenty of people from Ukrainian village, from all around. And when I met her, she was a transfer student who came in. And I said, there is no way your family calls you Veronica. It's got to be Veronica. And she said, you are the first teacher who ever asked me that. And then I proceeded to never call her that again in front of everybody else because it just seemed a little too familiar. But I am so proud of her, and she's off teaching and doing all sorts of things. And she has been playing Ukrainian music for a living. When she did her audition in voice as a transfer student for Dr. Davids and my vocal colleagues, she actually came with friends who, and I think her family, who played Ukrainian instruments, and she sang besides classical stuff, Ukrainian stuff, and she was in the Ukrainian dress and everything else. I'm like, I don't care what she sounds like, I want her here. And she was wonderful the whole time she was here. This next piece, as it says in their program, it's a song for James Dean. And James Dean was an actor who died after 3 phenomenal movies at the age of 21 in a car crash. And he's buried in Indiana, where he is from. However, Hollywood and Los Angeles are Hollywood and Los Angeles. They have a cemetery there, and even if you're not actually buried there, they could have a funeral plot for you. And they do, for James Dean. There's a headstone, when you go on the tours, I imagine, and it's there. But it has a Greek inscription on it. And the translation of the Greek inscription on a headstone of somebody who died at 21 translates to, as summer was just beginning. So before we do our last piece, first of all, thank you so much for coming out and joining us on this now perfectly acceptable April Sunday afternoon. And again, as always, thanks to the band. As always, this is the first of the lasts. Of the last concert of this group or that group. I guess gospel choir went first, last night. But for me, this is the last of the concert band performances for the year. Which also means I get to introduce the graduating senior. One. So I'm both really happy and not really happy. I'm happy to only lose one. Yay, pandemic, keep coming everybody. Take 5, 6 years, whatever you need. But that doesn't make me any less sad, to lose the one. Because she's a perfect example of what you can do at North Park. And we try to treat our music majors right, educate them, get them ready for the next step, whatever that is. But we also recognize that half of our groups are made up of people who are not music majors or minors, who just can't bear the thought of high school being the last time they perform. And my greatest admiration always goes out to any of the nursing majors who actually stay playing, because we complain about music ed being hard, and it is, and time-consuming, and it is. And the nursing students just look at us like, yeah, right? So for somebody to play the whole time, and even more importantly for me, somebody who played before the pandemic, lived through playing in the tent for 20 minutes of rehearsal. As the president can tell you, we had a tent out there the whole term, and we rehearsed out there, which was great in September, and great in October. How was it in November? No. But we still did with the pandemic. And we've come out, and here we are rehearsing again. And people in my band on the breaks are talking to each other, which sounds fine, but in the pandemic thing, they had to be out. Go outside, get away. And to be on the front end of that, all the way through it, and now here tonight and playing so wonderfully, please help me thank Trisha Bonta. I like to do musicals, and parts of musicals and medleys of musicals, because along with jazz, for which you might know I have a bit of an affinity, musicals are the American art form. And when it came down to picking this one, it was really easy, since so many people in the band actually went to see Les Mis. How many people went to see Les Mis this fall? And people back there. And so it was very easy to do, and I love the music anyway. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. Please enjoy Les Mis.
Thank you.